Okay, folks, good morning. Get a couple things here set up and we will get started a little bit earlier than normal. Let's set this thing up here so I can see you guys' questions, comments, etc. My favorite Martian, there you are. Good morning to you too, sir. Oh, we don't need my own volume on the other side. Got off to a little earlier start than normal. I hopefully you don't mind. It's probably beneficial. The reason for that is my computer did not want to start this morning. That's not true. My computer started just fine. I couldn't do my. I mentioned earlier I'm doing playing some in a couple of tournaments and also some individual games in Field of Glory. And usually that's what I do first thing in the morning is I do my turns, and so that sets me back a half hour to an hour. Unfortunately, sometimes it just takes forever to get some turns out, and you get sent some puzzles. The the game's pretty decent in that it has sometimes the game is really challenging from the standpoint that you get handed some puzzles that are similar to the what I like to call the Tetris phase in DBA, and that's what makes the game interesting. And sometimes takes you a little while to figure out who you need to attack with what. For whatever reason, my computer didn't want to start that program, and then I didn't feel like restarting the computer, so we're just going to go ahead and move forward. So those people will just have to wait. Probably the last tournaments I will do. I am playing against an individual that I can't say that I know personally, but I've communicated with him a lot over the last 15 years, probably, as a DBA player. So I do enjoy playing with a real person, but the other ones not so much. They tend to have kind of dishonorable ways of playing. Let's put it that way. They're not cheating, but just they do things that you'd never see in a face-to-face tournament. So, including the designer of the game, he's not a bad game, but I played a couple games against him, and this guy's set up like demented. So, probably just going to go back to playing just against the one gentleman, one game at a time. It's two games at a time because it's kind of a mirror thing. If you guys have never played that before, they'll send a match, and it's like, let's say you've got French versus German. So in one game, you play the French, and the other one, you play the German, but the terrain is set up the same way. So it's not like the terrain is the same, it's just a mirror image of it. So I think we're going to try doing some DBA games that same way as well. Film those, see if we get some cool results. Just installed Field of Glory. Okay, it's not bad. I've played. So I keep my stats on that as well. Because I don't have a life, or I shouldn't say that. Maybe I have the wrong kind of life. Hey, it's just fun to look at. I don't. I talk about my stats all the time. I don't really use it as bragging. Although I do like to egg people on when I'm playing games, but somebody's got to win, somebody's got to lose. I have played on Field of Glory 2. I never played the first one. I've played a total of 105 games I've completed so far in the last. I think I installed it last September, something like that. 105 games. I've won 51 times, lost 50, drawn 4 games. So a lot more draws than DBA because you just run out of time. So sometimes if you're playing somebody really evasive, that guy was a loon. That guy was just. I'm not going to mention any names, but he was a loon. Okay, so we need to paint this guy's helmet, his face, his hand, and then the strappings on the horse and the mane, and he's done. Oh, yeah, just a piece of cake. 100% for me. I beat the tutorial. The problem with the tutorial is it isn't that the computer isn't a good opponent. It's that it doesn't react to you at all until you get within a certain range. That's really the only gripe I have about the computer. It doesn't do stupid things. I haven't played it enough to really realize. It's just like, it sets up on it. You've got a board here. If this is the dimensions of the board, let's get this on the screen here. Okay. And if the center of the battlefield's here, and if you set up here and your opponent sets up here, you can move a third of the way across the board and switch which way your guys are facing and everything, and it's not going to react until you get to a certain distance. And that's just one of the limitations of having a computer opponent. The nice thing is you can play one turn and then put it away and pick it up exactly where you left off. So, all right. Obviously we're gonna do the main last. Let's go ahead and paint his face. Let's give him a facial. Now this should still be wet from midweek where I put a lot of moisture on there. All right. I gotta remember. It is the morning and I gotta be kind of quiet. But John, was it you that said that you were planning on painting all next week? Well, I'll see you here. Every night except Monday. Every night except Monday. Got a game on Monday. Got some people that have a date with Edward IV. I gotta stomp them again. Although that victory that we had was about as close as he could get to not winning, because my command ended up breaking. But before I left the field, we were told that the other guys left. So when we write the history, it'll still be a win. It was a close run thing. Isn't that one of those things that you guys say in the UK? UK sayings, is there a place to do that? I've come across one I really dislike. And there's lots of American sayings I dislike, so it's not like I'm picking on the people. You guys know. I know I'm not picking on people from the UK. I pick on people from everywhere. Done and dusted. I do not like done and dusted. I heard that from a fitness instructor person on the thing that we do on our bike, and I don't like it. I don't know. I'm not dusting anything. It's completed. I'm sure there's many more I don't like. There's lots of American sayings I don't like. So. Here, a car hood is a bonnet, and the back is a boot. Well, if we're going to talk about cars, let's not talk about cars. I'm going to bring up the whole fact you guys don't know which side of the road to drive on, but here's the reality. If I was born there, I would feel the opposite. So, I mean, I get it, I'll be honest with you. I could handle that. I wouldn't be able to handle the shifter on the left side. I don't know. End of June. I'm like 1 month in of my rediscovery of how to drive a stick shift. And I mean by that is my first car was a stick shift, and I haven't driven one in 13, 15 years, something like that. And we just re-upped our leases, and I'm like, I want a frickin' stick shift because I miss it. And I was a little apprehensive the first time I did it because I was like taking everything slowly in my head, but no issues. Still love it. Hopefully I'll never have another automatic. ever. But I didn't get an automatic to begin with because of my own choosing. That's the wifey. So I need to clean this thing up. It's been a little while. But I love a manual transmission. It's like you're playing a game on the way to work. It's like your last chance to play a game, so. Okay. Whew. Well, that's done. That's done and dusted, right? I don't like that saying. I'm sure there's lots of them. I do prefer English spellings. Let me think about that. There may be spellings I don't like, but I generally prefer armor with a U in it and color with a U in it. It just looks better. Hey, I call them like I see them. And I'm fine with a metric system. And I'm not one of these idiots that wants, oh, send me a 7/16 wrench. That's retarded. That should have never been. That was just a bad idea. Dividing something into 16ths just makes no sense whatsoever. You guys don't have roundabouts. I like that name. No, we have a thing called cul-de-sacs. So I don't know why you use a French name for something that turns at the end, but I'm not driving an automatic car. That's right. You guys have options. So there's there's very few vehicles that are even available here in the States that are made in standard. People don't want them. People are stupid, you know? And, well, John, you're my age or older. I think you're a little older. The new generation, the people that are even even younger than millennials, which are my nemesis. Millennials are my nemesis, but the new ones, they don't even want to drive. I I don't get it. I would have driven a car if I was 12, if they would have let me. Why wouldn't you want to drive a car? I heard someone say they did not want the responsibility if they killed someone. And I'm like, well, if somebody gets to kill somebody, why can't it be me? You know, you can be it's fun. Responsibility's fun. I don't know. Different people, different dads, different generation. You know, you guys don't say cavalry. What do you mean we don't say cavalry? I do. Have you ever caught me saying Calvary? I hope not. If I do, like, just give me the lashes now. I know other people I play with do, and I try to call them on it. That bugs the hell out of me. No, we're not talking about the Jesus Hill. This is horses, damn it. But that's a common thing. People mispronounce the hell out of that. I wonder if people that aren't from a Christian background still missay that. Like, I mean, are there any Buddhists going around saying Calvary when they're talking about horses? No, but everyone else does. They do. It's horrible. It's hard. Look what I got to deal with. I remember when I was younger and I was in school, and I mean like high school or something like that. I could be telling you a fake story, meaning I think this happened. I'm pretty sure it did. I was spelling something with as armor and adding the U, and they would correct. My teacher was all pissed that I was spelling it wrong. I'm like, it just looks better. And it's proper, right? Oh, man. All right, let's get this thing together. We get the magic juices. We are. We need to put some more in our magic juice dispenser. I don't know if you caught this, but I found a use for my little hoodie that came on my whiskey bottle. This stuff wasn't bad. I I think Jameson's better, but it's not bad. It was on sale and it came with a little cute hoodie. I knew my daughter would get a kick out of that, so I don't want to just throw that away. And she doesn't have any dolls that needs to go on. Barbie doll with promoting whiskey. I don't have an issue with stuff like that. Um, when we went up to Tennessee, my my daughter has kind of a backstory of bumblebees. I'm not going to go into it, and it's nothing bad. It's just something that we used to call her. And so we went to the Jack Daniels store among our things, and they had a hoodie. I think it's a hoodie. It might just be just a regular sweater that had the logo of that Jack Daniels honey, and it had a bee on it. So we got it for her, and she was concerned that her friends would see her with a hoodie that had an alcohol type thing. And I'm like, what's the big deal? It's not like she's even drinking any of it. It's just cute. But I would be more worried about my daughter wearing, say, like a heavy metal t-shirt, than a Jack Daniels, logo. I mean, it's just, I don't know. I don't see what the big deal is. I'm not an uptight Puritan, though. Da, 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 da. Yes, a little older this generation makes me despair. Well, we don't have to be around for long. A personal good morning, Jared, Mr. BBC. Oh, man. A personal bugbear. There's something I don't use, that term. I know what it is. Bugbear is people saying axe. I believe it's AXE instead of ask. Oh, yeah. Hopefully, I don't do that. I like to make more creative sins than that. English things that I get confused with. So there's names that I mix up one for the other because I put them kind of in a similar category. Okay. And the first stuff I used to game with was World War II, naval. And I love the Commonwealth ships. I got to remember to say Commonwealth because we don't want to diss the colonials. Okay. It contributed a lot. And, I do make the mistake of saying English when I mean British and whatever. Okay. I'm doing better than everybody else on this continent. So I'm sure you can deal with it. If you didn't have so many people joining and leaving your country, then you wouldn't have this problem, okay? But I do tend to get the names of cities in the UK. See, I covered myself, mixed up, and not because, like inadvertently, okay? And it's because they're names of cruisers. Maybe I don't get them mixed up, but I find them very similar. Okay, the best example I can give you is Sheffield, very famous cruiser, old shiny, and Belfast, because they're both cruisers, and they both had, even though they weren't the same class, they were similar classes. Belfast was an improved Southampton class cruiser. Oh, here we go. We're gonna nerd out with the ships. Oh shit, I used the N word. But because they both had similar style, really cool paint schemes also. So I'll think of one and say the other. But obviously I know where the two cities are, and they're both north of London, but that's about the only thing they have in common with them. One of them being on Ireland and the other one not. What else? I'm sure there's lots of other things. But I prefer English um, spellings, but not pronunciations, because you guys just don't know how to pronounce some words. It's not your fault. It's due to the French. I get it. I understand. You know, um, that town you guys called Leicester. It's got like 12 letters in it. Why isn't it Leicester? It's Leicester. That's the worst example. I know. Let's not even go to Wales. I get it. I'm just razzing you guys. I One of these days, well, maybe one of these days, go out to your old country. I can't say my old country. When you say cool color scheme, are you talking about Dazzlecam? I'm talking about let's pull out the book. I got an old shiny. Where are you? Where are you, my dear? Here it is. This. Just the grays and the blues. The stuff they started using, I think they started using it in 41. Just a good looking ship. Belfast has a scheme like this right now when it's sitting in the, what do you guys call it? The Pool of London? Yeah. This kind of stuff. The Commonwealth ships are, I love the Commonwealth cruisers because they had all kinds of cool paint schemes like this. I painted my own miniatures, so it's kind of a big deal for me. Um, but I love the Commonwealth paint schemes of the Second World War, the Western approaches and all that stuff. That one they had in 1940 kind of sucked with the browns and the greens, but that happens for everything. But yeah, I'm very partial to the Royal Navy in the Second World War. They're a lot of fun to play, a lot of fun to paint. A lot of their ships have some pretty decent weaknesses when it comes to fighting other surface ships, as far as armor and stuff in certain places, but that makes them more fun. And British destroyers have like the coolest freaking names on the planet, so British ships in general do. So I enjoy playing them. World War One, not so much. I'm partial to the Germans in World War One, but anyhow, alternative alternative history. Cester is a Roman word. Okay, we'll hang those guys too then. What's the consensus in the UK? I actually like saying UK because it's kind of like the US, you know, two letters, starts with a U, kind of the same thing, right? I know that's where the similarity ends. I think this guy's got a regular hand, not a mailed one. Let's paint him. What's the consensus on the mouthy redheaded woman that starts with a B? Is it Boudica, Bodicea? Do most people say one way? I think most people say Boudica. Blame the Romans. You know, I'm relatively new to ancient wargaming. I mean, even though I have been doing it for 18 years, it's still new. I keep saying this. This isn't my thing. I guess it's my thing now, but it's not my thing. So before that, I never watched any, before 2004, didn't watch any Roman movies other than the old Ben-Hur. Was that the only one? That may have been the only one. I just never got around to seeing any of the other stuff. Never did any type of wargaming as far as that goes. So, I kind of have like a clean slate when it comes to the Romans and the other guys. And I'm kind of partial to the Romans because the other guys just aren't as interesting. I can't think of any non-Roman except Pyrrhus. Okay, Pyrrhus doesn't count. I like my boy Pyrrhus. That are as interesting as the Romans. You know, and it's not that the Romans are that interesting, but it's like I generally prefer to play the side, or I'm partial to the side that either has better paint schemes or better uniforms or better armor or whatever looking, right? So I don't think there's anybody out there really that looks better than the Romans did that they fought. So, what is my favorite rule system for naval? So I played at the time, I played a lot of Siegfried 4. Siegfried 4 came out, I believe, in 85, and we were playing in the late 80s, early 90s. Range estimating on the floor. Ships could fire up to 80 inches away. Not doing that anymore. It's just not worth it. We played it a lot. I learned a lot about ships playing that game and looking things up in the books that I had and so forth. So Siegfried 4 is what we pretty much played all the time. Siegfried 5 came out around 2004, and I've played a couple of games at conventions. The problem with playing that game at conventions, Joe is in our game group is really big into Siegfried. That's what he pretty much did all before getting into DBA, and he plays other things as well, but he mainly does Siegfried. So Siegfried Siegfried 5 is just a great game. It just you can't complete it in 4 hours, and that's not a knock at the game. It just has a lot of detail that rivet counters like myself can appreciate. It just takes the problem with naval warfare is a lot of the game is spent on things that don't matter in the end. So, for instance, if you have a game that takes a long time figuring out once you get a shell hit, how long it takes, where the shell hits, and how much it penetrates and how much damage it does, it doesn't matter how slow the game goes because there's not that many hits. But if it takes a long time calculating whether you even get a hit to begin with, that's what eats up a lot of time and really has no value. So, but I can't play a very basic naval game. I can't because I have the armor calculation. I want all that detail in a naval game, or I'm not even going to want to play it. So I'm not going to play Victory at Sea or whatever these other simple games that have come out in the last 15 years. They're not for me. I would rather just say, okay, I've played a lot of it and I'm not going to play it anymore. I mean, we've played a lot of it. We played, I don't know, 150 games, 200 games of it, which isn't a lot by DBA standards, but some of those games were all day affairs. We played one on the floor for 26 hours straight, and it was still inconclusive. And we loved every minute of it. It wasn't like we were bored. So, but I'm kind of hooked on finishing games, so you have a result, especially since we're keeping score. So, but I had probably about 500 1/2400 scale ships at one point. No, they weren't all painted, but 100 and 200 of them probably were. They weren't painted well by today's standards, so I got rid of them. I got rid of them probably 15 years ago. Yeah, there's no way you could get me to range estimate anymore. I would no, because you'd range estimate it, and if you got close, you got to roll to see if you got a hit. So you may botch the roll. So you spend all day like racking your brain, and then for no result. So nah, that's I don't have that in me anymore. The new Secret 5 doesn't even use range estimating, so that's good. So let's see. Da, 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 da. A historian said, "Which one would you prefer to date, Boudica or Bodicea?" Mr. Cog, welcome. Dirk, hello. Been to the club today, had a fantastic game. Middle Imperial Romans versus what am I missing? Parthians. Did the Parthians fight the Middle Imperial Romans? See, the Parthians were knocked out by the Sassanids, and that was about 200. Yeah, I guess they would. Yeah. You don't hear about that often. You don't hear about the Middle Imperial Romans and the Parthians. Cool. I don't know. Sassanid Persians are pretty cool until you use them in DBA, and then you're like, man, how do these guys win any battles? But they certainly look cool. Definitely cool looking folks. Definitely some cool looking folks. So, fire worshippers. Crassus. Well, a little later than Crassus. Crassus, what, 55 BC? And Middle Imperials don't happen until after 280. Who's the guy over there who got himself captured? Is it Valerian? But Valerian got captured by the Sassanids. I think that's Valerian that got used as a step stool. Oops. Probably the thing not being into ancient gaming, the thing that and when I did get into it, the thing that surprised me the most was how much information we just don't have. As a World War II gamer, I'm always complaining about, man, I wish there was a color picture of this thing in this paint scheme. Or I wish, it was always like, why did it have to be in black and white? And then you go and do ancient stuff like, why isn't there any information on these people? Or why why is everything from the Roman perspective when they fought the Gauls? Well, the Gauls didn't have any written language. What? I mean, just that finding out stuff like that's like what? That's crazy. That's absolutely crazy. But you know, I have trouble playing World War II things because I'm such a World War II nut that I don't really tolerate any kind of half measures with it. So I want all the detail or just I'm fine not playing it. And I've played it a lot, so it's not like, I didn't give it its fair shake. But I got lots of World War II figures to paint, and they're exciting castings by my favorite sculptor. But when it gets right down to it, I'm never going to use them as much as I'm good using this DVA stuff. So let's just paint things that I'm going to use. How about that? You know? And there are World War II rules that I like, but it's a lot of heavy lifting. It's doing all the terrain, it's doing all the armies, and uh, I'm a slow painter. I'm always going to be a slow painter. I don't have a problem with being a slow painter. I'm going to try to paint things as good as I can, and it doesn't matter how long it takes. Um, so maybe I'm better off not painting things for a game that we may never play. That if we did play it, it'd take forever. So there's lots of good World War II games on computer that I can play if I need to have that World War II itch. I don't say BCE. It just it's dumb. And I'm not a particularly religious person, but it's the other one's been around so much. If it offends you, you need thicker skin, dude. Um, you know, yeah, before common era. It doesn't, it doesn't matter. I mean, if you say, well, we got to do the other one because it doesn't have to do with God and Christ. Okay, okay, maybe it doesn't, but it's still the same zero marker. So it doesn't really matter. I mean, I'm from a time period when there was a Cold War going on. Well, there's technically one going on now, but we're not going to get into that. Um, but back when when the West and the Russians were going to blow each other to smithereens, we have better things to worry about than stuff like that. Now it's like, oh, life's really good. What do we need? I know what we need. We need problems and controversy. Like, dude, just shut the hell up and go to work, man. Almost repeated crosses of defeat. My flanks got swamped, but the legionnaires into the cataphracts and took out the Parthian CIC. That's right. Tie those blades up. 8 on. Right on. Yeah. People just create problems where there aren't any. Jesus. You listen to the media and they make you want to hate other people. Like, I already have a list of people I don't like. You really want me to add to it? I'm a grown up. I can already figure out who I don't like. I don't need you telling me. I dare say most of the things you paint in DBA are visually more entertaining than World War II miniatures. With all the absolutely, I get to paint different colors. It wasn't until I did my feudal Spanish and army in 2004 that I actually painted a horse. I'd never found a reason to paint a horse before. So it's it's going to be really hard for us to play a game that we're going to have as much joy, entertainment, excitement, sitting at the edge of your seat, heartbreak, than it is playing a DBA type of game. I mean, we've just enjoyed it so much. You can see the videos. It's just an insane amount of enjoyment. Where you're like, man, I needed 2 pips and I only got one, and you're racking your brain and you're trying to figure out to make the best decision. You just and you get a conclusion. And yes, you don't have the details about, this guy throws a grenade and it bounces off a window and it lands somewhere you didn't want to and it blows somebody else up. All those little movie moment stuff, but I'm fine to forego that. I've played those games and they have other downfalls. So, yeah, I'm good with this for I'm always going to play a DBA style game, and that is, not a lot of figures, opposing die rolls, that kind of stuff. As far as I can tell, I don't see that changing. Now, I covered myself because there could be something that comes out better than DBA 3.0, or maybe something that we make better than DBA 3.0, but it's not going to happen anytime soon. My focus is really have fun, film games, have a good time, have some drinks, paint some figures. Not necessarily in that order, but could it be a better game? Sure. Does it have to be? Nah, we're good. My biggest problem with creating a game or modifying DBA is I want to make sure somebody can't steal my stuff and then sell it, because I have no interest in selling it. So I'd want to, copyright it so people couldn't take shit from me and then make a buck, because that's not my intention. My intention would be to just make a better game that people that play a game like us, like a DBA, would want, maybe to take it to the next level. But I don't want somebody to say, that's a good idea, let me market it. I'm like, No, I don't, there's no money in this. Okay. So you might as well do it for the love of what you're doing. And it just sends the wrong message, I think, when you take somebody else's stuff and you sell it. It's regardless of whether or not it's legal, it doesn't sit well with me. So that's what I said. If I ever was to do that, you got to use like 3.0 Army List, and they're not included in my game, so you still have to buy 3.0. So still, Phil Barker still gets his share. I know the share is nothing because it's not a money making thing, but it's the principle of it. It's his game. Love him or hate him, if it wasn't for him, I wouldn't be doing ancients, you know? So, and that's just the way I am, you know? Other people don't see it that way. There's been other rules that have literally copied every single thing he did and then it's sold. It's like, how do you get away with that? How do you live with yourself? I don't know. I'm the first one to sleep at night every night, so I don't have those type of issues. So until I get that resolved, which I'm in no hurry to do, you know, I'm not interested in pursuing that. But I got enough on my hands. I'm burned out with work every day, so I don't necessarily want to burden myself with stuff I don't like. Now, let's add a little bit more highlighting here on this guy. Another papal knight. Use AVC advert what? Use AVC adverbe condita. I don't know what that is. Oh, okay. You mean instead of BC? I don't know what that is. Another papal knight. BC AD. It never occurred to me to use anything else. They just invent issues. It's not. Yeah, I don't get it. You know, you don't have to believe in Jesus to use AB and BC. It's okay. You know, it's go back and use whatever the Chinese use. I don't know. All right, we got to paint his helmet, his flat top helmet. I know these figures are all kind of from a mishmash about a time period, but some of these guys may be date based around the founding of Rome in the 753 BC. The supposed founding of Rome, right? So that's the wolf numbers, right? The wolf, the date of the wolf mother. Every civilization is founded on lies. Lies and treachery, backstabbing. Hey, that's what makes interesting entertaining. So I just reminded my self chuckle reminded me of something. Stand up comedians. I can't stand what guys that are so deadpan don't laugh at their own stuff. They don't have to laugh at every single thing they say, but I didn't enjoy people that are just totally deadpan. I wouldn't be able to do it. Not like Mitch, who laughs at everything. Shifts in his chair and laughs. Hey, he's a happy guy. What can I say? Got together with them last night. No, we didn't film a game. There was no games to film. We just had to put our heads together. They just, about a week ago, they announced that they lifted the restrictions on our convention in Orlando coming up at the end of September. They were going to have it, but then they were going to hold it with restrictions. And then we're like, well, we're not gonna go. We don't need a game so bad that we need to deal with that. And they just decided to lift them about a week ago. So we're like, okay, let's put a list of games together to put in. So we put our heads together here to kind of putting up a list of what events we're going to run. And that's what we did last night. No gaming. I guess we could have, but I'm going to go over there on Monday. I'm bacheloring it all next week. So I know we're gonna film on Monday. Well, I mean, unless something dramatically happens to myself or the camera or everybody else. Got to put that caveat in there. Monday and probably Friday as well. We'll get some 2 games in next week. I don't know what we'll do on Friday, but we're going to do another part of the War of the Roses portion of that. So we'll get that in again. See who's left standing. Got someone that's supposed to be coming out of hiding that's going to join us, that's been in a cave for like 15 months. I don't know how they can do that, but better them than me. I think they haven't left the house in 15 months. I could be wrong. I'll ask them. I'm going to make sure to grill them. People once said we live in interesting times. I disagree. We live in annoying times. They're not interesting at all. They're annoying. Uh-oh. This one too? I'm not that messy of a painter, and you still have the tops of these bottles that get all goopy. I can only imagine how messy people's bottles look like. They're probably wearing them. So yeah, we got a good list of games that we got coming. I'm sure we'll post what that is when they get finalized. I don't want to get you guys hopes up. Although most of you guys aren't going to come at our shows, but you know, it's not that exciting for me because we play every week. But there's people that haven't gamed in, well, for over a year. So I can't imagine. I can't even imagine going to work, but then my pleasure stuff is not there. I mean, if you're sitting on your ass at home, I was about to say fanny, but that means something different in the UK, right? Yeah, why does fanny mean the other end in the UK? You'd think that would make sense in Australia because, they're upside down, right? I found that out recently. I'm like, really? Fanny's the front part? Okay, whatever. I guess I should go around and calling people, if I lived in the UK, I'd say, don't be such a fanny. Oh, it just doesn't seem right. Maybe I read it in a site where it's not really right at all. You guys, I'm sure, will correct me. I don't even know what I was talking about. But yeah, if you've been sitting on your ass and not working and you don't get to game either face to face, okay, well, that's fair, at least. But some of us have had even more work than normal this whole time. I'll be damned if I'm giving up my gaming. It just isn't going to happen. So it's not like we're gaming in a big mosh pit. I don't like mosh pits to begin with. I just had a conversation yesterday with a very important person in my life, just yesterday, about the possibilities of getting faster internet. And then we can film this in better quality, because I'm not worthy of having better resolution since I'm going through a mobile connection, even though I have insane speed on it. Faster than cable modem. That's the the Google gods that decided that people that have a mobile connection on YouTube are dumbed down to 720. 720 just sucks, especially if you're doing something like this, you know. But it's better than nothing, I guess. Some of you stuck around through the crappy resolution, so maybe you just use it in the background to work on your hobby stuff, which is what I used to do as well. So I get it. Well, that's actually what I'm doing, what I'm using it for as well. But hopefully the next month or so that'll materialize. Because they have no plans of putting fiber optic in our neighborhood, even though we're in a very civilized place. Came from the English novel Fanny Hill. Was she a prostitute? Does she straddle a lot of things in that book? Well, I'm not going to read English novels. I'm sorry. Or French ones for that matter. But if I did, I would do it with Audible. Not that they're my sponsor. I don't want a sponsor. I don't want anybody to dictate what I could say. I've said this before. I said if I'm a sponsor and I'm sponsored by, I don't know, say let's not use Games Workshop. That's controversial, and they don't do any of my stuff. But if I was sponsored by a miniatures company, there we go, and they make something that sucked, I wouldn't be able to be honest with you guys because they sponsor my stuff. And it's like, honesty to me is more important than $30 or free figures or whatever. It's just, that's not worth anything to me. I don't need to be nasty. I just like to call things like they are, It's easier to keep your lies straight if you tell the truth. So I'm not a very salesy person. So anything that's salesy or like, I wouldn't be good at selling something I didn't believe in. As a matter of fact, I'd be terrible at it. Um, so kind of what you see is what you get, or what you hear is what you get. And as I get older, I'm like even more proud of that. I'm like, well, you can't say that anymore. Well, congratulations. I'm now going to say it even longer. Okay. I think I needed to paint this in this color too. That's the whole thing about painting these miniatures. Sometimes you just like, what is that supposed to be part of? I don't know. Let's paint it like it's part of this and see how it turns out. Ooh, I like that. Leave that. Okay, let's get good old bronze out. We're going to do some detailing on the sword as we always do. Okay. I have to do the back of the thing there, just for you guys that are following along. And I am going to do a video this week, since I am childless and wifeless this next week. I'm going to do a video probably with these nights of how I spray and seal them, because it's creating a lot of controversy for people. A lot of people are having issues with how they're sealing them. And I think it's two things. I think it's three things. I think it's overspraying, in other words, laying it on too thick, not keeping their spray can materials in the same temperature of the place they're spraying in. So in other words, if you have it inside your house at, say, 70 degrees, sorry, I'm going to do Fahrenheit because I like the metric system, but I can't deal with Celsius. I can't visualize what the temperature is. I know I could just throw numbers and it doesn't mean anything, but 70 degrees Fahrenheit, and then go into the garage where in Florida it could be 100 degrees. Okay, I did just stay in 100 all the time, so you don't have that frosting. Kind of like when you go outside and your glasses fog up. That thing, that may be part of it. Leg it on too thick, temperature change with the thing, and it isn't humidity. I've sprayed in the garage with it pouring outside. It doesn't get much more humid than Florida unless you live in, the freaking Amazon jungle. And what was the other item? And then maybe using poor quality products. I think it's mostly people just spraying too thick, or maybe getting too close to it or too far away. Anyways, I'm going to do a video on how I do that. Maybe it'll help somebody out. And it just, that way when people ask the same thing, I can just point them, hey, here's the video, watch the video. Kind of like how I did the painting tutorial. It's just too simple to have it be people having this many problems. So, yeah, I don't know. I've never had an issue with it. So maybe it's something that'll help someone out. Why not, right? Okay, I kind of like this color here, but we're going to do something a little bit different. We're going to change it up. I got all these colors. I might as well use them all. Where's the buff color? Is it this one? Here it is. This is what we're going to use for the straps. But people generally don't pay attention about different things. I had one guy that asked me, oh, great for the DBA game. When will you use some others? I'm like, dude, there's like 150 freaking games out on my channel. Like, try to pay attention. There was a group I belonged to that had a shop for their merchandise. And they announced on their Facebook page that their shop was closing. They were going to stop doing it because it didn't justify the amount of sales they were getting. They weren't getting hardly any sales. And then as soon as they did that, literally within 30 minutes, there was probably over 60 responses, and most of them were, I didn't even know you had a shop. And because there's just so much crap on Facebook, and it's not that there's garbage stuff. There's just, you're being bombarded by so many things that you're not interested in, that it's difficult to like block all that stuff so you can focus. If you're on Facebook, you know how many times so-and-so's invited you to, I think I got an invite yesterday from somebody, or a couple days ago, for the Harry Potter fan club. I'm like, okay, for starters, I've tried to watch the first movie twice unsuccessfully, and I don't think I made it past the 25-minute mark. I am not somebody who wants to be part of the Harry Potter fan club, so why am I even getting this invite? You're just getting bombarded by everything all the time that you're not even interested in. you know. But yeah, people just, we're just bombarded by too much stimuli, and people just naturally don't pay attention. And but yeah, that was funny that we're gonna close up shop because no enough sales. Well, I would have bought stuff. I didn't know you had a shop. What you got there? I guess you need to threaten you're gonna close the shop up, get people interested. Thought that was funny. I remember, what was it, 10 years ago? Everybody was sending those damn, what is it, that Mafia Wars requests. Like, come on, that's just mental masturbation. It's just a time waster. Like, you don't get anything from that. It's not even a fun game. At least if you're playing Field of Glory or something, you're being like challenged, not like, oh, I need to click on this thing, but I can't click on it again until 3 hours have passed to keep you coming back. There's a lot of that going on. I'm actually surprised how many people are in need of a hobby. I see so many times, and I've seen it recently, where even it's not even political, but people just getting into these heated arguments where neither side is budging, but yet they still continue to push their. It's like, it's just not worth my time. There's nothing I feel, you know, I'm not interested in converting people. Like, here's what it is, here's how I feel, and well, no, you could, I don't care, you know? It could be game related stuff. I don't like typing in vain. I do enough typing at work in vain. So I'm not looking to do any more of that in my hobby. Like I've said before, if you make it so I don't enjoy my hobby, I'm going to stop doing it because it just doesn't pay enough. This is therapy. This is free therapy. And when this stops being therapeutic, then I won't do it anymore. Okay, I think we may need to just do the core color of this, bring it up. Now, the color of these straps is almost identical to the color that I used. Well, this color versus this one, almost identical to the color that I used for the sword sheath. And once I do this, you'll see that they look very different. And that's the point. You don't want it to look like I only had two colors to choose from, and I got to paint everything in either one color or the other one. Make it a little bit more varied appearance. Again, with a crappy picture quality, crappy video quality. Okay, the metal on his helmet's dried a little bit, so let's give him the non-oil treatment, so that way we can come back and clean that up. And I've used maybe 5% of this. I don't use very much. I'm just worried I'm going to spill this one time and get this stuff everywhere. Thank you, Dirk. I think it turned out pretty well. I like freehanding that stuff. That's, where you paint a line and then you come and paint another one and you clean it up as you paint more. It's therapeutic. It's therapeutic. I don't want to use shield decals. That's like the most fun thing to do. And time flies while you're painting. It's almost 7. And my daughter has her swim thing. I need to wake her up for this. I think it's her last swim practice before they go on their trip. They made the cut to go to the Junior Olympics in Colorado. I can't go because they got to be there for a week before them. It's next weekend when the show is, and they don't let people go into the training area. So it's like, why am I gonna take a week off of work to not even see her compete? Like, what's the point? So she's going with the rest of the team, and her mom's going, and so forth. So I get a bachelor weekend instead, but she's been practicing every single week for synchronized swimming. That's what she does. That's what she's doing for a while. Little water baby. And I'm not one of those asshole parents. You gotta win. You're gonna make us look bad if you don't win. I hate parents like that. Even before I had a kid, I hated parents like that. Kids that are sitting there watching baseball or whatever it is, and they're egging them on like they're gonna be professionals. Like this is what they're gonna do the rest of their life. Like they sucked at sports or they never made it as far as they wanted to, so their kids got to be the best and they're going to make it in the major leagues. And I got news for you, man. This is all a hobby. Okay, it's like winning the lottery. You're not going to win the lottery, so just have fun and relax. That's like win at all cost players that play your war game. Like, go away. Bugger off. Let's use this gray. This gray should be okay. This is for the reins. Win at all cost players. Yeah, I want to win, but the other guy wants to win too. Are they even doing the Olympics this year? The regular Olympics? I don't know. I used to watch that all the time and I'm not a sports person, but I used to watch it when it was in the 80s and stuff, when it was the Russia versus the West and all that stuff. But now the coverage is so poor. It just doesn't have the same significance anymore. Oh, I could have already painted the little lassos his feet fall in. Stirrups. But I didn't. I boo-booed. Canceled last year because of COVID. This year's in Japan. watch it. I don't want to watch some kind of program, everybody wearing masks. Rather not watch it. And the coverage is so poor. I actually had somebody my wife knows that ran into her. I can't believe people like this are in this world. And she claims this woman told her that she didn't want the mask to end because she liked it that she couldn't see people's faces, so she didn't have to pretend I put a happy face on. And I'm like, what planet are you from? You know, you can always wear one. You can continue to wear one if you want to. You know, nobody's stopping you. Wow. I can't understand people well. So I'm fine not interacting with someone with one on. It's kind of like when I go in the bathroom. I don't go and have a conversation in the bathroom. It's like we're in there, we're all doing something that's, not something we want to do out in public. So, let's socialize when we get outside the bathroom kind of thing. Yeah, I can understand people. So I'm fine them limiting things that used to do before that were just stupid, like big mosh pits of people. I don't like going in a place and you can't even move or get into strangers bumping into you for no reason. I remember there was this one bar, this college bar back in the day that was really popular in this town. This is a college town, but this particular one was, I'm not going to say world renowned because you guys don't know about it, but it's a very popular one that was here for many, many years. I went in there one time and there wasn't even space to like get a drink and sit in a corner with your back to the corner and sip your drink without somebody bumping into you and spilling your drink all over yourself. I don't need to be in a place like that. That's just absurd. You can't hear anybody. You can't. So, yeah, I'm not interested in mosh pits of people. But I'm not interested in socializing with folks when I can't understand them or see their face, which is why Mitch and I weren't going to go to the show. We're not going to go to war game shows where people are wearing masks. I mean, people want to do them. That's fine. We don't need to be there. It's just not part of the social experience I want to be part of, you know? So once they lifted that mandate, then we'll put on stuff, but we don't need a war game so badly. We got to put up with that. And I can't understand people. I certified don't hear well. So again, it goes back to my hobby is going to be 100% fun or I'm not going to do it. And it's like, okay, well, we'll just another day I don't have to take off from work. But I do, the main reason for me to do wargaming is to socialize with folks. I mean, I don't need to play more games. I've played enough games. So can't tell given the video quality. Is there something in the red portion of the shield, or is it just red over white and black stripes? Yeah, I'm sorry about the video quality. Hopefully in a month we can get that resolved. Let's see if we can improve that for you. And hold on, is this brightened all the way up? Let's do that here. Okay. There's nothing there, just some shading. Why is it looking so yellow? The light looks yellow. This is actually a shield from supposedly a company from Bologna. So maybe this is an infantry shield, whatever. It's the right time period. It's the right country. It has the right look. I like it. So it works. It's not like I'm putting Russian and heraldry or something like that on an Italian figure. So it works for me. You don't like it, you can paint your own. That's what I do all the time. Like, I don't like how that guy painted it. I paint my own things. Okay, perfect. Yeah, look at this. This is a mess. This is a mess. We're not going to clean that right now, though. I'll be one video I'll do cleaning up bottles. But, you know, I've had this bottle for, I don't know, 15 years. So, yeah, and never cleaned it. So, yeah, that's going to happen. All right. Let's paint the mane here. And then we've got to do socks on this guy. And the hooves. And clean up the metal on his helmet. And he's done. And this guy's done. My headache pretty much went away. I woke up with one. Probably from being dehydrated. Don't think I had enough water yesterday. All I had to do was open my mouth and I would have had enough water. It's been an extremely rainy week here. Extremely. I think it's rained more this week than it's ever has. So it's rained so much, it's like taking a toll on the roads. Asphalt's coming up in places, and it's a land of extremes. We won't have any rain for like a month, and then it seems like we get 4 months in one week. So we live in annoying times. 1 month your grass is dying and you got to water all the time. The next month your grass is overgrown because you can't find a dry time to mow it. That's the one we're in right now. So I think I'm still going to try to mow today, even if it's wet. I may just have to, you know, I think we're supposed to have another rainy week next week. So I don't think I need to have another week's worth of growth. It's not like it's a lot of property. It's only I think a third of an acre, and a house is on top of it. So it's not like it's a couple hour operation. Might be longer this time, but I got beer. I'll have a beer and forget about it. Uh-oh, who do we got here? Hello, although I don't know what your name is. Oh, that's got to be Russian. That looks like Russian Theo. I could be wrong. Welcome. I think that's Russian. There's only very few characters, so. I'm glad my Russian army did really well the other day. Although it was a close run thing. I don't mind losing games. I just don't want to do it with an army. I just spent a couple hundred hours painting. You know what I'm saying? I mean, I'll lose all the games with the borrowed armies. I'd rather not lose it with ones that. You don't know how to explain English, not very good. Well, it's better than the other language that you speak that I don't. Welcome. Welcome, welcome. Gonna finish. This is the fourth Papal Night, or more appropriately would say, mercenaries in service of the Pope. Because the following week they could turn around and end up fighting him. So we're not going to have any papal symbology. I'm not going to say heraldry. symbology on any of these knights. These are all free men, free mercenaries, you know, and the infantry, the spear will definitely have shields that were supplied by the pontiff. Ah, you're from Deutschland. Wait, let me get my Google Translate skills. Okay, you're from Germany, the land of beer. Sorry, folks in the UK. You guys get toys, man. That was first pick. All the miniatures come from the UK. Be lucky. Germany has beer. You guys have you guys have all the toys. Why aren't there any miniature manufacturers in 15 millimeter from Germany? Why not? I mean, Italians have two that I can think of. France doesn't have any either. So Poland has. Poland used to have two. Now they have one. I'm just talking about 15 millimeter historical stuff that do ancients and medieval. There we go. We're talking about a niche type thing. I'm really not in the know of other scales. The other scales are dead to me. Hey, I can't do it all. I've realized that, you know. By trying to do it all, I've realized I can't do it all. Just a light little. Let's see if I can put this on there. It'll keep. Now, I'll put my glasses on so I can find myself. I believe in Germany, historically flats. Excuse my ignorance. See, I don't think it's ignorance. I've read a little bit about what you're about to say. Would you claim I don't think it's ignorance. It's the media manipulating you and thinking that things that are weird are more common than they are. Okay? And it's not your fault. You're being fed lies. We'll get to your question in a second. Just wanted to show you that. It almost looks like it's the same color of the chainmail, but that is not the case. It'll come out. It'll come out right on the pictures, not on the video. Okay. How common are alligator encounters in Florida? Given what we see in movies, TV, they seem common, but I imagine it's no more common than deadly animal encounters in Australia. Deadly animal encounters in Australia are probably more common. There could potentially be snakes everywhere. I was last time I mowed the lawn. There was a lawn. There was a black snake that was coming out of my bushes. But I live in a completely suburban place that there's no lakes or anything around. They live in lakes, but they're scared of people. They don't want to mess with you. And yes, there's a bunch of them concentrated in places that nobody lives in. Just like there's probably a lot of dangerous snakes in parts of Australia where nobody's at. Like, okay, guys can just hang out there. They're not very common. I mean, if you go in a place that you shouldn't be in, yeah, you're going to encounter one if he's hungry, so it's nothing you got to worry about. I mean, I don't even worry about snakes. I mow the lawn in flip flops, so to speak. So I'm not worried about that. Now, flying cockroaches, they scare the hell out of me. They don't do anything. I'm not dealing with those things. But snakes, nah. The other place I used to live at, there was a moccasin that was in my little outside foyer, would probably be the correct way to say it, and we had to hunt him down. But that's the That the only poisonous snake I've ever seen in my life in Florida? I think so. Only one. So they just don't want to be about. Main thing with dangerous animals is don't corner them, which is really easy to do if you don't go where they're at, which you don't have anything to do there anyways. So I don't think they're that common. I mean, a lot of Florida is not built up, but that's not where the people are. you know. So it's very. I mean, it has historical flats are more common. By flats, I mean Zinfiguren. It's very difficult to get something from tabletop here if you live in a village. There's few shops. There's few shops in a town. In it, I live. Let's see, my town's 160,000 people, or so, and we have two two craft stores, that would have like felt and that kind of stuff, minimal building supplies. One hobbyist store that's from a chain, so there's no miniatures there. And a couple of comic book places that have some Games Workshop things, but nothing historical. So I might as well, there might as well not even be a shop here in town. So I think that's just the new normal. Um, if anyone knows something from tabletop here, it's mostly STH from probably shit from Games Workshop. There are people who play historic tabletop, but they're very rare. Yeah, yeah, we're a dying breed. I have no interest in playing fantasy. You don't get to learn about real things. You don't. You're just you're reading made up fluff. There's so many cool things that really happened that people don't know about. There's no reason to make up things. So, especially like history in the part of I don't know what part of Germany you're in, but there's a lot of really cool stuff that happened there. And I'm not talking about in the 20th century. I'm talking about, before that, medieval stuff. And, I imagine in Germany, you probably want to stay away from the 20th century. It makes it a lot easier to not deal with ramifications of that. But there's a lot of really cool German history stuff that happened before that. You don't have to game the 20th century stuff. There's actually a German group I belong to, and I don't remember what the name of the rules is, but they were coming up with a skirmish scale rules of World War II, which I thought was pretty bold because, well, it used to be that my understanding is they really didn't do World War II gaming in Germany for obvious reasons. Um, but which I get, and but that may not be the case anymore. But I don't know if they're going to be commercially available or whatever. But that was if I lived in Germany, I would have a problem with not doing wargaming. I'm fine avoiding the World War II controversy for obvious reasons, okay? But, there's all kinds of historical gaming you can do that is not controversial like that. But to not do any of it, no. I'm not a Euro gamer like, okay, let's build these farms, or no, that's just not me. I want conflict and combat and, not in real life, but do I know Steinhagel or Kugelhagel? I don't know. Are those beers? Oh, what's that beer that was spectacular? God, it had like a Christmas thing. Oh, I'll have to find it. And I asked somebody from Germany, and they didn't know what they didn't have it there. Um, it was a black. It was a black can. I'm not a fan of beer in a can, but this stuff was amazing, and the can was beautiful. I should have kept the can. Um, I don't know what it is. That was a beautiful can. Had some Imperial German Eagle or whatever. Hey, I'm partial to Black Eagles. Okay, I've got one on. I'm lucky enough to have one on my heraldry, so I'm partial to that stuff. It's a wargaming system. No, I do not know anything about that. All this makes me realize how lucky I am. Here next weekend we have a convention, 24 players doing 28 millimeter ancients. Probably the only one in my village who knows at least what a tabletop wargaming is. I don't think anybody in the United States would refer to where they lived as a village, because if they did, it would be somewhere you would not want to live. It would be like four blocks with some toothless rednecks in it, you know? Um, that's not something that gets used. I mean, village doesn't have a bad connotation, but the equivalent of what that would be here in the States would be horrible. You wouldn't want to live there. And it would be near nothing else, you know? It's not like, yeah, no, we're a rare breed indeed, definitely. We're separated from, most people aren't even interested in history. So I have trouble making friends with people that I have any kind of common. It's okay if they're not wargaming, but they're not even interested in history at all. It's like, why am I even talking to you? Sports. They all want to talk about sports, and they're all bad sports. Because when their team doesn't win, they want to whine about it. I'm like, all you are is a big fanny. Did I use that properly? Oh, don't be such a fanny. Oh man. Good times, good times. I don't like people that are poor sports. I don't. I don't. We play war games, but it's a social thing. So it's if you are a bad loser or a bad winner, I don't want to have anything to do with you. That's not what we're here for. Okay, so what I'm doing is I'm mixing the kind of the dark shade that I painted this the whole horse color in, and we're going to add white to that. Yes, white. Small W, big H, small I, small T, small E. White. That's the thing I do, I guess. I understand. I have a friend. He's very, very, very interested in World War II. It's fascinating. It's horrible what happened, but it's fascinating. I don't watch horror movies, but I watch war stuff, and I think it's kind of the same appeal. I mean, I don't want wars to happen, but they did, and it's fascinating. But it's horrible. I don't want to be in one. Okay, then we're going to mix some white in this because eventually we're going to do white on the socks here. So we're going to just bring this up towards the edge. We're going to do all four. It makes a lot more sense when all four are painted, even though that isn't always the case. But there are horses running around there with only three socks, and you look at them, and somebody's going to point out, it doesn't look right, because it doesn't. It looks like you forgot to paint one, but that's what happens in nature. Just like horror movies. That's the way I describe it. You know, I like horror movies. Well, you like worshiping the devil? Do you like murdering innocent people? No. Okay, well, it's kind of the same thing. We're going to show that. I believe in freedom. You haven't played Hearts of Iron all the time, a strategic PC game. I am a tactics guy. I'm not interested in strategic stuff. Don't use changeable. You usually use it when. Adding some white privilege. Yeah, big H. White. Hmm. Huh. I may throw that. I may throw that one of my opponents just to see if I can get a rise out of them. Don't be such a fanny. Oh well. We like to razz the crap out of each other, but it's all in good fun. All right, let's get in here with a little bit more detail. I don't know where I got that from. Maybe I've always done it. I certainly say that color a lot more than I used to because of just painting. It's in just about every color I add, just like black's in almost in every color I add. So, white. It's my thing. What are we looking at? I gotta go wake up the daughter. I'll be right back. I think I'll be right back. All right, the Deuter was already awake. We'll see how much longer we can go. We'll have a big one tomorrow morning. Saturday one is always short. Use of the English language phrase fannying about is more common. Oh, your English is just fine. English is just fine. Absolutely. It's better than my German. I only know Blitzkrieg German. That's what I call it. So I know all my World War II words in German. That's it. It's like a verb, fanning about. Will you come up here and support me instead of, what are you doing fanning about? Oh, is that what Theo is? Well, that makes sense. Oh, it's upside down. That's ingenious. Your name is Theo upside down. Raus, ein Schweinhund. Raus McClaus. Blitzkrieg German. Okay, hoof time. Let's stop fanning about. And what's the thing that the British people say all the time? British painters, they say, crack on. That's right. I like that one. Let's crack on. Stop fanning about and crack on. I'll start working that into my repertoire there. You guys don't. How come he's saying that? You should watch my videos. Try to pay attention. What are your favorite 15mm miniatures? Yes. I like them all. How about I mention the ones I don't like? Ooh. There's some I haven't come in contact with, okay? Lancashire. I don't think I've encountered any of those. So I can't comment. So it's not like I've been exposed to all of them. The ones I don't like are because they have weird sculpt things that are difficult to use if your whole army's made out of them. Maybe I shouldn't tell you what I don't like. I don't want to poo-poo these things because you may like them, and when it comes down to them, it's better sculpting than I could do. Okay, I'm not a sculptor, never will be. Although I will be adding some green stuff to my Pope figure. Hint, spoiler alert. So, but I pretty much like all of them. The ones I don't like are difficult to find, so that's good. But it's all better. It's just the style they're done in. I don't care for some of them. Almost all of them are compatible with each other, unless you find something like strip minifigs with like two dragons samurai. Things that are just really their height and heft of the figures both work against them, and they don't work together if they're like on the same stand. you know so I pretty much like them all. Now, my favorite sculptor of all time, I know you guys are getting tired of me mentioning him. Well, tough. He's my hero. If I had a hero, it would be him. This guy named Dave Alsop. He sculpted a lot of 15s in so he started with a bunch of 20mm World War II figures for a company that eventually became Combat Miniatures here in the States. And I love his work. That's what got me into doing World War II skirmish. Was his castings. And he did do some Napoleonics and other ranges and 15s, but no ancients that I know of. So I can't paint his stuff, but he does do, I love his style. But he passed away every bit of 30 years ago. So there won't be any new sculpts coming from him. I like the way Legio Heroica look. They're impossible to get a hold of, and the sculptor passed away. I think he's the sculptor, the owner of the company. So who knows what that means for his company? But I don't own any of their figures. I've seen them. I like the Forged in Battle figures, but I haven't painted any of them yet. And no, it's not a beer. My last name's not Harbach. It's 7:10 in the morning. As I like to say, it's not a work day. I don't need to drink. I need to drink at work and I can't. So I can certainly get away with not drinking when I'm not at work. Speaking of beer, I'm having a reaction when it's either in a bottle or a can. I'm getting like red around my neck when I initially have it. But I'm fine with drafts, so it must be something, those damn preservatives they put in everything here to keep it in a bottle. Sulfites or some shit like that. But I don't have that problem with draft beer, which I prefer anyways. Crocodile Games minifigs. I like them, but they're that expensive. Means get a cigarette off someone for the uninitiated. Which saying? I didn't catch that. What did what did Dirk say? I don't know. I don't smoke, so I won't be getting a cigarette off someone. My bad habit is eating. I like to eat. Good morning, Kevin. Will there be in a Renaissance Pope mobile? No. No. And this would be medieval anyways. Does it work if your play partner uses different as long as the scale fits? Absolutely. No problem at all. Hi, Tony. Dave from Down Under. Just recently, you and Mitch were talking about a-holes. So when you two are together, who's the a-hole? Me. I'm definitely, he's nicer than I am. There's always somebody who's the a-hole. It's me. That's okay. But you know what? I can paint. And I'm better looking. He's got the good personality. See how that works? I was talking about there's always an a-hole in your group. You know, like if you've got 7 or 8 people, there's always somebody who's the less fun one. So humble. Well, you got to understand what you're good at, you know. Oh man, call them like I see them. You're the one that asked the questions. I just answer them the best I can. Um, yeah, I actually had an experience the last Historicon that I went to that I'd never had before, and it was a good experience. And I got to walk around the booth area with someone who was a painter also, because you're looking at things through a painter's view. They're interested in like terrain or paints or brushes. Where I'm doing that with Mitch, and he's like in La La Land. He's not interested in that because he's never going to paint, you know. So which is fine. He buys things. Um, so that was kind of cool to be able to do that. I wish those things happened so more often, because I really enjoy the being able to look at. I enjoy people walking around and having people try to sell you on things. Not really enjoy doing this, but that are like, yeah, I'm kind of past that, you know. Like I'm not all of a sudden going to start dipping figures. There's nothing wrong with dipping figures, but I don't need to go back to that level. Mitch has a lot of figures that were painted by someone that we know that would just buy spare figures on eBay that were painted poorly, and he would dip them and they'd look great. And his army was consistent looking, and he did his own basing, and it all he's got several armies that are that way, his Indians, his Persians, and they look like they all fit together. So that's a viable way to paint, but it would be, it would be taking a step back for me. I don't need to do that, but ultimately it doesn't really matter what figures look like. I borrowed an army from this person, and it looked horrible because it was an Athenian army. And I think every figure was the same figure. They were all painted the same. I didn't even have a general, so I had to like take a piece of tape and put it on the stand so you could see which figure was the general, and they were undefeated. I mean, those guys whooped everybody's ass. It was unbelievable. So it doesn't matter what they look like, how they perform on the battlefield. As long as you're happy with how they look like, that's all that matters. You know. So as a painter, that's very true, and sometimes it's hard to be satisfied with what you're doing yourself. So once that gets cleared up, then as long as I like how it turns out, that's all that matters to me. So yeah, I'm the asshole, and the other guy could be the fanny. I don't think I used it properly there too, did I? We all have our own playing style too, and I think that that's great. We're not trying to convince other people of you're doing it wrong. We all have our favorite things that we like to do. Mitch loves quick kills, and I don't care so much for him. I like big numbers and being solid, you know, and killing people with bow fire, you know. That doesn't mean that's the only units we use, but if we, given a preference, I think we did one video right now that I think we did one video, and I think it was a live video where Mitch, Luke, and I talk about if you could build your favorite army, what would it consist of? Troop type wise. And I think I mentioned I'd take four bow every time. Every time, four bow. You could put two on each flank and kind of wing it. I don't care about knights. I don't. So we all have our different preferences. Of course, that doesn't mean that I only play armies that are a certain way. I'm trying to build things that are a little different. Certainly, my Irish are not what I would consider an ideal troop combination, but I love playing them. So, and those guys are lucky. That always helps. So, and I get to drink with them. What's better than that, right? You're an absolute noob. Ah, we'll get there. As long as you're having fun, the rest is irrelevant. And as long as you're playing with people that are enjoyable to be around. One of the best things you can do for your own sake, for egotistical reasons, is if you know how to play a game, make sure your opponent gets to be as good as they can be so that you're challenged more. But if your purpose in life is to let me keep something away from this person so I can spring it on them and then use it in a battle and then feel good about myself because I beat them, I'm like, huh? And there's people that are like that. There's people that are like, they don't want to tell them everything. And then that goes to the next thing you know, these people, if they enough people do that to them, they have this attitude of they don't want to play competitive games because they think that they don't have an unfair advantage. But that's what I want to. That's what I want to do. Is I want to get my opponent to be as good a player as I am, so that I'm challenged. You know, so you don't fall into complacency. What should the base of the minifigures look like if I want to play with them? Do I have one? Yeah, here's some Roman allied cavalry. Right here, this is a stand of cavalry. These are, it's funny, I put it right in front of me and I can't see them. This is literally right in front of the camera. What the heck's the camera pointed at? These are Old Glory figures. I painted these guys a long time ago. These are, why is the focal point not there? Mysterious cameras. Yeah, these are Old Glory figures. And these are Italian allied cavalry for the Republican Roman period. And they're on a Litgo stand, of course. Okay, this is pre-made with a magnetic bottom that you can stick on there. And this is 40 millimeters by 30 millimeters. This is what standard mounted things. So you haven't played or painted for over 25 years. Oh my gosh. My last army I painted and played was Kushite Egyptian army. Got to go looking forward to your next battle. Yeah. Dude, one of Tony's videos is a basing video. Oh, yeah. Yep. Yeah, go look on my videos. I did a basing on how I do the basing on them. I like that video. That was a pain to do, but I think it turned out well. For a noob like me, I'm a noob when it comes to this video stuff. The painting is almost mindless, but the video sometimes can be an uphill battle. What do I? Careless Magnus. There you are, Mr. Charlemagne himself. What do you think of elephants? I feel like the extra pip cost isn't worth it for a 5 versus infantry. Elephants. They're cute. They're fun to paint. I just use things differently than most people use them. I think the extra pip is the worst thing about them. I don't like units that cause stress on me having to roll a certain thing to get to move them and then they can't. If an army has one, has the option to have one or not, I tend to have it because there aren't that many armies that have them to begin with. So it kind of is what makes the army unique. The best use of elephants is, I don't have the Pyrrhic army yet. It's on my to-do list, but isn't every army. But the army that is a similar, maybe not similar, but the army I did complete that had an elephant and it got nerfed was my Southern Dynasty's Chinese. And that particular army had, see if I can recall from memory, it had like 3 blades, 4 bows or crossbows, I forget which one it is. And then it had a cataphract general, a cavalry, a light horse, and an elephant. And then maybe it had a couple of Soloi in the army as well. So what I would do is I'd have my battle line, and I would usually stagger the blades and bows in there so you could cover everything. So you'd have a blade, bow, blah, 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 blah. Okay? And then you might have like the light horse on one flank and the light horse on one flank and the cavalry on the other one. And then the general and the elephant were in the back, kind of where they could go in and plug holes. So I like using elephants the same way I prefer to use knights, which is have your infantry go in, create some weak spots, or maybe they get it, or while they're showering the enemy with bow fire. In other words, taking no risk and causing damage to the enemy, disrupting them. And if the enemy gets mad enough to come after them, you can charge either a knight or an elephant into, because they have big numbers, into that gap where they're overlapped on both sides to get a winning kill. And then when that knight or elephant wins, they line up with your battle line instead of charging them up, and then they win and they're way out in advance and you can't support them and they get their sides crushed. So I prefer to use knights and elephants as a counter punch, not as the initial punch. That's me personally. Mitch would disagree with me. He wants to charge in and get the kills. I've lost the game way too many times with that. If you watch my videos, you'll say, I mention that I hate knights. Even when they're winning, I say I hate them. I hate the way that they advance and get themselves into trouble when everything is good. I wouldn't change how they behave in the game, but I don't have that kind of confidence. So I prefer using the knights and elephants as counter punches. I think the infantry needs to be there. Now, if you have an army that has no infantry, you can throw all that out the window, but I prefer the solid core to move forward and use the mobile elements to encircle or counter punch. But that's my playing style generally. Now, obviously, it's dictated a lot by what pips you roll and what situations you find yourself into, but generally, that's the way I like to play. So, in that Chinese army, what I would do is I would keep the elephant in the back and to wait to see where he's deployed and send him in that direction because I only had one, and that army was very solid. But then it got nerfed, so that elephant got taken away and 3.0 from that army got given to another one, and I don't have that one. So, oh well, it was good times while it lasted. That army had a really good win record. Let's see what record they had. Southern Dynasties Chinese. I haven't played them in almost 10 years. I could be wrong on that. I may have done a video with them. That's when the last time I did it. Let's see. Let's go to Southern Dynasties Chinese. 22-7. Yeah, I did all right with those guys. But I definitely like the Asian armies because they're well balanced. They're cool. People tend to not play them, and they have a really interesting history if you can find it. The language barrier and then the script barrier is huge, and a lot of this stuff just isn't written about. There's details we want as wargamers in this stuff that just the writers at the time just weren't interested in, you know. Um, Makes a lot of sense in context of the rule system. Doesn't feel right historically, though, sadly. Yeah, well, I mean, you can play them a different way. I mean, I know that one particular player that always had to think for the Carthaginians, he wanted to send them forward by themselves, how Hannibal did, and it doesn't work. It doesn't work in DVA to use them as bowling, to use them like you would like a side chariot. But I tend to be an aggressive conservative player. I tend to want to win without taking the minimum of risks and really disrupting the enemy before I go at. Generally, that's my mode of play. But I tend to be aggressive, but I tend to be aggressive with like bows and stuff. So one of these things I like to do is create this thing called Wall of Doom. Of course, this is assuming I have an army that has bows. If it doesn't have any bows, then obviously you can't do this. But you create some kind of solid wall that just marches forward. So you control the pace of the battle, and then you shoot a bunch of arrows at people that disrupts them and keeps them wrong-footed. I got to check on something. I'll be right back, folks. Okay, well that was longer than expected. Man, you guys have no life waiting on me. I'm kidding. I don't have a life either. Let's see. Wow, missed a lot of stuff. Probably sourcing from the UK. If you're in Germany, an easy starter way to go might be Essex miniatures to do complete DBA armies. Absolutely. That's probably the easiest way. Pick a German army since you're German. That's one of my favorite things to say is, what army do you recommend as a first army? I said, what are you? And I'm like, what? I said, I mean, what are you? I mean, you're Italian? Are you French? I mean, what are you? Build that army. Makes sense to me. That's what I did. So, yeah, build a German army. Unless you don't like who you are, you know. But, and if that doesn't work, what period are you interested in? What are you? I said that to somebody that they didn't know what I meant. What do you mean? I said, where the hell are you from? Build those people. That's where you start. So I built my first army was a Spanish army. I still need to build a Visigoth army though. One of these days, one of these days. Okay, I think I need to get, is there still any metal floating around here? I'd hate to pull it out for just a tiny little bit. Here it is. Okay, we're gonna put a little dot here. And a little bit on the other side. And did I miss anything, or is this guy done? We'll call this guy done. Where is this? Here we go. So he can ride with the rest of these guys here. I don't know who's going to be on what stand. It's 2 stands of knights, 3 figures on a stand. I'm not sure who's going to go with whom. Who is going to go with whom or who? There we go. Yep. 4 done. 2 to go. Okay, let's look at our usual our 2 culprits we have here. Are these 2 figures that are left? We'll leave the charging guy for last. How about that? But our past, it's terrible. Not in medieval times. Everybody's equally terrible. Not in DBA time period. There's no bad guys in DBA time period. Unless it's like, what's the worst people in DBA time period? Assyrians. Half naked because it's so humid. You have no idea. Oh, I see. Okay. You're half German and half Thailand. I don't like to be a German. I mean, it's okay. Well, you don't get to pick where you're hatched and you don't get to pick who your parents are. The Thai army's cool. Kurosan Miniatures makes them, which means it's extremely expensive to get them over in Europe. But their figures are cool. And it's a good army. So the question is, do you want to build elephants? So, sorry, I didn't catch the part where you said you were half Thai. Ah, no worries. Yeah, and you can get the DBA 3.0 book from Lulu. I will send you that link now. Let's see. Let's add a thing on here. I'm going to do a search for DBA 3.0 .0 Lulu. I have an advanced degree in Googling. Here it is. We're going to take this link here, copy it, and put it on the feed right there. Hopefully that works for you. Yeah, the Thai Army is cool. I've come close to getting them, but I got enough on my plate. I got enough on my plate. The worst thing about Asian armies, you ready what the worst thing about Asian armies is? They have crappy flags. And it's shameful. They should have really cool flags, but don't. Like all the Chinese armies have the character for their dynasty. Well, you know, that's all practical and everything, but not very cool from a standpoint of painting. So Link works excellent. Yeah, and you should be able to get it pretty quick that way. All right, so let me go back to my Merlaton site here. And yeah, I would recommend Essex Figures as well. You get exactly what you need. And if you're hooked, you can go in other directions. And if not, you didn't waste a lot of money. I mean, just look at it being practically. You know, there's a chance that you may never play the game. I'm sorry, I'm just being realistic. I mean, hopefully that's not the case, but it's a wonderful game. But you do need other opponents, and it is an uphill battle to learn how to play this game. It's the most difficult game I've ever played because it's abstract, but it's very rewarding. I wouldn't. I've had more fun playing this game than any other game. I can honestly say that. Okay, so let's go to the Merlaton site and see what inspiration they have for another Bolognese night. Merlaton miniatures. Miniatures. I could just make things up that would work, but why if I don't have to? I mean, I still pick up my spin on it. I still have to decide how I'm going to make the barding on the horse relative to the shield. Flags and shields. Okay. Okay, and there should be Fosalta. I always want to call it Folsata, but that's not it. Fosalta. 1249. That's close to the time period that I'm trying to replicate with these guys. Okay. We don't want to use Ghibelline army. These are all Guelphs. Wow, it's hard to make out what some of these things are. There's a rooster. There's a guy that just has a blue chevron on a white shield, but that looks too much like my Scottish guy, so we're not going to do that. We have a red and yellow one that has a fleur-de-lis with the fleur-de-lis in opposite colors on each side. That sounds like a good challenge for me. Now, what I want to do is, who's the guy that has the red-white? That's this guy. So we do not want to do it with this one because it's the same pose. And then you've got, I'm sorry, I said red and white, I mean red and yellow. With red and yellow with both. Okay, so we're not going to do this one that way. This has got to be like a base blue guy for variety. I may have to punt on him. So we're going to do that fleur-de-lis with this charging guy. Okay, perfect. That's how I make my important decisions. Okay. So half yellow, half red. Let's do the shield first to tie everything together. Okay. Which of course is the most fun part. Now, there's a chance, there's always this chance, that I may not like how this turns out. So I reserve the right to punt and do something different. But we're going to give this a shot because this looks like a cool challenge that I can handle. So let's get some yellow out here because we're going to need it. And what we're looking at is, you can't even tell on the computer. So let's see, we have a pencil here. I don't have a pencil. I did, it's in my backpack. I don't feel like getting it. I'll show you a little bit what we're talking about. There's a split shield like this, okay? And it's yellow on one end. Did I look at the right guy? Yeah. It's yellow on this end, and it's red on this one, in halves. But within that half, there's a fleur-de-lis. World's shittiest fleur-de-lis, there you go. So here, it's yellow, but this fleur-de-lis part is red. And here it's red, but this fleur-de-lis part is yellow. That's how it looks like. So that's what we're going to do. Okay? Wish me luck. I can handle it. As they say over there across the pond, I've had worse. The biggest problem is going to be to paint the fleur-de-lis to look like a fleur-de-lis, but I can do that too. All right, let's start with yellow. All right, so we're going to mix some brown here. Did we end up putting that yellow down? No, I got sidetracked. That happens. It's a yellow, which doesn't cover worth a damn, but we know that. And we're going to take the middle ground here. I don't think that's flash. I think it's some kind of a tie-in there of a strap on that shield. Okay, so we got half of it in the base color of that. While that dries a little bit, let's go do the same thing with the red. Do we already have red that's alive? Nope. Let's put some more down. And let's put the comments up here because I don't need to look at that anymore. Not at the moment. Okay, here we go. Thank you, Mike B. Welcome. Okay. This. The other half will be you can't even tell because these colors are so dark. Yeah, it didn't look like much. Ah, don't worry. Rinse and repeat. Oh, I already had this out here. Let's add more yellow to it. Yellow behaves very different than, I think, any other color except orange. It's just a bear to deal with. So you've got to like let it dry. You got to baby it. You got to add other colors to it. Now we're going to go brighter than this, but we want to make sure when we put this fleur-de-lis on here, we didn't go all the way up, because what I'm going to want to do is I'm going to want to leave the shading around this fleur-de-lis. And if I went all the way up, then I've got to add it in afterwards instead of just avoid the part that I painted. Oh, yes.
I made coffee if you want some.
Oh, awesome. Thank you. Well, I guess I'll have some coffee. Look, there'll be coffee. Yes, the clan is awake. Good, that means we can turn up the volume. I can be my normal loud self. Carthaginian war elephants versus Siamese war elephants would be a great battle. Siamese have an edge. Siamese have blades and war elephants. Carthage was great because of Hannibal. Not because their army was great. I discourage people from buying the Carthaginian army as their first army. People always want to jump that. They just assume because Hannibal was brilliant that they would do. You should pick an army that's commanded by a moron. Because you'll either do this, as you're learning how to play the game, you'll either do the same as him or you'll do better. And so pick who's your biggest idiot. That's actually a battle that we've got coming up. We're going to do, if you guys have seen our greatest general battles, we're going to do one where the biggest idiot. And it's all the generals that did not make good decisions. So we've got some interesting rules in there to add an extra layer of challenge. So that will be coming up in the next couple weeks. So. Okay, so let's continue. Pink is a base for yellows. You're smoking crack, my friend. No, I'm good. You just got it's so thin. It's so thin and it's on black. It's on a black base. So, all right, where were we? We're going to add a little bit more to this. And this particular yellow is a nice color, but it's Army Painter, and I don't really like their consistency. I could have just used a Vallejo yellow, but the problem with using pink as a base is it doesn't cover worth a damn either. All right, so this is about where I want to be before I do the little fleur-de-lis thing. Hey, and I may not like how this turns out, and that's okay. So let's get to this particular version of a fleur-de-lis that they have on this shield, and it's so damn small to see. Let's see if I can make it bigger somehow. Barely. Okay, so let's do the red one first. So in other words, paint the red on the yellow. Okay. So, hey, if I can do that line on that Scottish shield, I can do anything. You just got to take it in small little steps. So take about the same color red that's already on this other side. Okay, and we want to put where we're going to end and where we're going to start at. So we're going to start at about over here. And we're going to end about right here. And actually, I want to go a little darker than that. I want to add a little bit more black. And what I'm about to do, the wet palette, is extremely useful. So you can keep these colors wet. And let's see if we can do this even better. We need to move our paintbrushes from here. They're over here in the high rent district. We need to get them out of here. All right, let's see if we can. There we go. You can see my mistakes a little closer now. All right. So all I did was just put a couple of dots where we're going to start and we're going to end this pattern. I need some more light, but not so much that it's in my face, that I bump into the thing. All right, we're going to start here. We're going to end here. Just two little dots there. Okay. Now, what basic shape does this thing have? So it's going to get fat and then it's going to come out. Okay, so it's going to come out like here, and it's going to be along this edge. And this is one of these you're not going to get right the first time. You just need to kind of get the basic shape and then build on it from there. So you can see I am going to drop a black line through there when I'm done. Okay. Now, this is the thinnest part, and it's going to fatten up. Eyes don't fail me now. Why is it not flowing well? It's going to fatten up here. So you can visualize half of it right there. So that's the basic. I'm pretty happy with that basic shape. I'm going to do the mirror image of that basic shape in yellow on the red side. Okay. Get that out of my life. That's in the wrong place. Let's go back to this. It works. Yes. That's why it's so difficult for me to deal with, like, using those Little Big Man Studios shield transfers. Because I've been doing this forever, and there's people that have been doing this longer than I have. But I'm really confident in what I can do and what I can't do. And this is very forgiving. If I don't like how this turns out, I know how to fix it. I don't know how to fix a shield that's in the wrong that I put in the wrong place with those transfers. The transfers are beautiful, but it just scares me, you know? It's just that's uncharted territory for me. So we're going to use the same yellow, or attempt to, and do the same thing on the opposite side. The other thing that works when you're doing things that are small like this is almost do like a little stipple action, because then you don't, as you're building things up. And that seems to work for me. And by the way, what I'm doing now is like my favorite thing to do. It doesn't get any better than this. It's all downhill. That and faces. I like faces too. All right, let me show you what I got here. Okay, now we're going to clean up with a black line so that it's even for both sides. Actually, we're not going to use the black line yet. And I'm really happy with that. Really happy with that. You know, when I'm doing stuff like this, I'm thinking, I really need to quit my day job. But bills, my friends, bills. And we clean up that one side. And then we'll clean up everything in the yellow that's not this dark one and bring it up. So that's what I do. I just switch from side to side and bring each other up. Like if I'm using two colors, don't if you're using like red and yellow, don't do the red all the way to the end. Leave it so that you're bringing both of them up as a balance. Now we're going to do the red on this side. It's all about pacing yourself. You really can't find something about the ancient Siamese on the internet. Oh boy, yeah. A lot of this stuff that just isn't be able to find. Let me send you a link. Let me go over here and go. Whoever painted these ones for Khorasan really did a good job. Yeah, there's no pictures of anything of some of these ancient things. Let's see, let's go. I believe it's under S. It is. And this is the page for the Siamese. Yeah, no day job and you wouldn't be able to do that. That's right, I have to sit on the corner. Yep. Click on that link there, Theo, and that is the page for Kurosawa Miniatures and their signees, and they're painted brilliantly by someone. So, yeah, got to have the day job another 20 years or so. A little less, hopefully. I'm not going to work in my 70s out of principle. Not going to do it. I'll go live under a bridge. There's people half my age now living under a bridge. Why can't I do it when I turn 70? Got to have goals, right? On my lunch break, I saw there was a homeless guy that was out pandering for money. Lunchtime, and then when I went home from work, he was still there. It's like, wouldn't it have been easier just to work a job? You know? Yeah, so we brought that up. So now we're going to keep bringing, let's pan this out a little bit so I have a little bit more space to work with. I'm like being encroached. We'll go almost up to the full red, almost. See how the watery this is? This allows me to go back and forth over the not that watery. Jeez. All right. Better, right. But what I was getting at before I so rudely interrupted myself was it needs to be thin so you don't end up having something that's very gloppy. Okay, let's do the same thing with the yellow, and then we'll probably drop the black line and do final cleanup. Too hot under bridges here. 20 years from now, Tony and Mitch videos from the Skyway Bridge. I talked to Mitch the other day. He said he won't be retired in 20 years, so. Skyway Bridge, you don't want to go over that bridge. That's scary. Woo! That's a scary bridge. It's so long, you get up on it, and then way off in the distance, the bridge is like over. Seems like 10 feet from where you start. No. No. I've been on that bridge a couple times. No. That's about 3 hours from us, by the way. For those that are interested geographically where we are. It took a long time. It took a long time to find somebody in my town to game with frequently. It was we had a big group in the late 90s, and then as a college town, everybody kind of moved away because there's not a lot of work opportunity here, not a lot of good paying work opportunity here. And I'm not sure why Mitch came here, because he's from Illinois. I don't know why he came to Gainesville, but they have a lot of board gamers here, but they're not war gamers, and a lot of them don't even like to use dice. And I like both. I like dice, and I like to war game. I'm a pacifist every day in my daily life, so consider it role play. Okay, now go ahead and drop that black line in there. This is where I could screw it all up if I'm not careful. Take some black, water it down some so it's smooth. Brace it against something. I could fix it. It's just a pain in the ass to fix something. Just easier to do it right the first time. Not bad. Okay, let's clean that up. From Illinois and a Green Bay fan. He's right by the border with I think he's like 15 minutes from Wisconsin. So sad I could find more about Siamese cats and Siamese history. It is. People don't care about history. They care about TikTok and pets and stupid shit. And it doesn't matter whether it's people from the United States or other countries, it's the same. I've seen those interviews that they put on people in the UK on the streets. They don't know shit about history in the UK either. It's a person issue, not a country issue. Okay, so we need to brighten this red up a little bit. Let's going to grab some of this same yellow. Sometimes I use white for this. I don't care if it goes a little pinkish. It is sad. People don't care. They care more about movie stars and movies than they do about real people that existed. All right, and we're going to add a little bit of white here to highlight this. So this liquid I'm using, it's Vallejo airbrush thinner. And no, it's not like water. It behaves differently, and it's almost like it thins the paint without washing it away from the paintbrush. It's hard to describe, but it really works. We can do better than that. I discovered it by accident. Okay, let's clean up the yellow. And we're good to go on a shield. It took a little bit of time. It's very satisfying. I think it turned out, I'm pretty happy with it so far. Yeah, Mitch doesn't like the bears, but he is a diehard Green Bay fan. Green Bay has the same colors that I went to a high school in, and I hated the colors. So I would never be a Green Bay fan just on the colors alone. I like cheese though, but that's not enough. All right. Okay. I think we're good here. And it'll look better when I seal it. I don't know what it is about it, but it just makes everything better. Here's the reveal. Come on. You just figure out where the hell this focal point is. There you go. There's that split shield for this particular night. Okay. Awesome. Did I watch the Curd Nerd on YouTube? No. Didn't know. I don't watch a lot of YouTube. Joe, big plans today. Yes, I'm doing them. Big plans. Yes, I'm painting. I'm going to paint till 9. That's another 40 minutes. Everybody has vacated the house, so. Big plans today. I got to put gas in the car. I got to go pick up my daughter from swim in a couple hours. Laundry. Mow if the freaking grass dried out a little bit. We supposed to get rain today? I hope not. I need to get in there and mow, even if it's wet. Have a beer while I mow. I can't do that until after 11:45, so it'll be in the early afternoon, which is the hottest time, but the grass needs to dry out a little bit. It'll be all right. Hey, it's better than, I don't care how much trouble I go through today. It'll be better than this last week. This was a total bear at work. Okay, so based on the color of the coverings of the other nights that I have, which are over here, I already have a yellow one, so this guy will be dominantly red. The coverings on this horse, dominantly red. And I may put fleur-de-lis on them, but it's not going to be a split one. I mean, I need to, not be a sadist. Okay, so we're going to do the red coverings on the horse now. Now, I'm not going to use the same red, so there's a little bit of variety in there. We'll use this this other one, and right, this is a different one that I used. I know they look almost the same, but they don't, I believe. Well, I should just pull the other one. It's definitely put away. Scarlet, that's the one that's a little bit more orange. Y'all gonna try my idea of a horde theme? Not this time. So we listed. You guys want to know what we're gonna run, or you want me to spoil it? I don't mind spoiling that. I can't do horde themes because the last convention we did a horde theme, so we want to mix it up a little bit. Okay. Well, we're gonna have an open tournament, obviously. We do that one last. That's kind of the big shebang. Oh yeah, Joe, you'll be at this show, so you can see what we ironed out what we're gonna do. So, apt to change for. No, I'm not using the book. I'll have to bring that next time you come by. I need to take the pictures of the figures that I need for that army to get inspiration, and then I'll bring it back to you. It's safe. I've only thrown it in the garbage a couple times. It's only all the pages are all wrinkled. No, I don't. I keep books in a pristine fashion. It's. I wonder why the screen looks so darn yellow right now. Huh, it's not, but okay. Okay, so themes. This is what I did last night. Mitch and I got together. First session on Friday, we're going to do a learning theme, like we always do. But you're busy doing the naval games. So that's perfect. Then Friday afternoon at 2 p.m., Bronze Age beatdown. So that's any army that's 12 before the collapse of the Bronze Age collapse, 1200 BC. Anything earlier than that, 1201 BC and earlier, is an eligible army. Okay, so you got Sumerians, all kinds of early Babylonians, Assyrians, third dynasty of Ur, Trojans, that sort of stuff. Really early stuff. Egyptians. Those are all eligible armies. Then Friday night, Five Finger Death Punch. We haven't run that at a convention, so have to have at least 5 different elements in the army. Saturday morning, Don will have some big battle game that he'll do. Saturday afternoon, that's going to be probably the coolest event. We're going to test it probably in a couple weeks, and it's some thoughts that idea that Scott had, and I will keep you waiting. I will be right back, and I'll let you know what that is. Sorry about that. Nature called. The Gavin Weber. Who is he? The Kurd nerd? Huh. I don't know. I don't watch a lot of people on YouTube anymore. I used to. Um, yeah, there's a lot of talented people on there, but I don't know who the Kurd nerd is. Gavin Weber. Okay, so the last event. This is going to be the coolest event. That's why we're leaving it for last. Well, other than the Open. The Open is you can use whatever army you have. You can use whatever army you have in this one as well. We're calling this temporarily the Blind General. And the Blind General, this is an idea that Scott had, and we kind of modified it a little bit yesterday. But the Blind General is a thought that he had is you roll for pips and you put it in a dice cup and you put it down. And your opponent looks and sees how many pips you have, but you don't know. So you start moving elements and you say, okay, well, I'm going to move these. You don't know that you rolled a 4 per pips. You could have rolled a 1. You could have rolled a 2. You don't know what it is. And you just keep moving until your opponent says, okay, that's it, and reveals how many pips you rolled. And then obviously the other side does as well. The combat rolls are exactly the same as they normally would be in a normal game, but you don't know how much pushing your luck you're going to do. Now, the catch to that is each one of the element, you have to have at least one element that costs 2 pips to move, whether it's an artillery piece, an elephant, a horde, something like that. So if you go to move a unit that has an elephant by itself, you're able to move them, and you're out of pips. So it's a catch 22. I'm going to play test it in a couple of months, but and the whole point is you've got to use an element that uses 2, because otherwise nobody would take the risk, and nobody would take an elephant or a horde or anything that costs 2 pips to move, because it's an inherent risk trying to move them, and then they can't move and you blow your thing. Now, if you move the elephant as part of another group to try to move them for 2, and the elephant can't move, then I think we're going to allow you can move the rest of those units together as a group, or not move them as well if you choose not to. But should be an interesting idea. Scott came up with it, so if it sucks, it's his fault. If it's great, it's his fault. I believe in giving people credit where credit is due. So, yeah, it sounds like it would be really cool. I don't want your opponent to roll the pips for you, though. It's still your own rolling, but your opponent, you can literally roll in your dice cup and then boom, put it like in the middle or towards his end of the table, and then he can lift it and say, "Oh, that's a 4. Okay, well, I'll let him know when he gets to 4." It should be cool. It should be a cool type of thing. So, anyhow. That's what we have planned. And of course, Don has a game planned on Sunday. He said he supposedly is back. We're supposedly going to see him on Monday. Hard to say. He's been in a cave for about 15 months, so we'll see if he makes it back out amongst the living. But he says that he's going to run his typical big battle game on Saturday morning and campaign game on Sunday. So we'll see. Hopefully, we can get back to normal. That's Huracan in Kissimmee, Florida. Can you move any after reveal if no extra pip cost? So if you go to say, you have to declare you're going to move, okay, I'm going to move this elephant. And if you only rolled, obviously the first bound, you could move him because it only costs 1. But in the middle of the game, if you decide to move the elephant by itself and you don't have 2, you just blew it and you don't move at all. That's at least what our initial thought is. We're going to do some playtest games, maybe have to iron that out, but that's our initial thought. So should be cool. A different way to play. So it's going to be a lot of tough decisions. I can already see. Like when you get into the Tetris phase of the game, you don't know what you rolled for pips. So it's like, oh man, should I close the door first or try to envelop and it not work? It's going to be it may be one of those things that we like better than the regular game. So wacky stuff, man. Wacky stuff. We'll probably film it. Probably film it. That way you guys can suffer along with us. It's more fun to play a game filmed than not. There's all kinds of really interesting things happen that people wouldn't believe if you didn't see it. It's a great game. So we might come up with something a little bit craftier than that, but it's going to be called the Blind General for the time period, for the time being. But Bronze Age beatdown. Yeah, now I got to get those Amorites done, don't I? Or I don't have an army to play. Well, I'm not going to jump and do them. I don't think I am. I'm going to finish. We're going to finish the Pope and his army first. Those guys should paint up quick. What am I doing? I'm getting ahead of myself. Let's not do that. Okay, I don't want the same kind of red, so let's get even wackier. Let's take this really dark brown. Actually, that's not the really dark brown. Let's get the SS brown out here. SS Camo Black, actually, is what it's called. And let's take this scarlet color, and man, if I can find a spot that isn't contaminated. This is the color that we're going to use as the background. Because this one's, his shield is painted on, and the cloth is cloth. So this is what we're going to paint overall as the darkest shade in what this figure is wearing. Yeah, so that's the lineup for Huracan 2021. So should be a little for everybody, a lot of different varieties. I don't know that we've done a book one theme ever. We've done chariot themes where you had to have a minimum number of chariots, which is mostly book one, but still there's a fair number of armies in book two that can have chariots. My ancient British stayed bronze later than most. And of course, we're going to have some armies to give away as well that were generously donated by I'm losing my mind. I'm losing my mind. I'm trying to do too much at once, and I am among one of the world's worst multitaskers. Jim Chaney, who's coming all the way from Arizona again. I think last time he came was one shot. So he had a bunch of figures that he gave me a bunch of loose figures, and I have made a fair number of armies from and little baggies. So we could hand those out to winners. Hopefully, people that paint. Mitch and I won't be eligible. Mitch doesn't paint, and I already have plenty to do. So when I first started doing DBA, they would do prizes. They would do a couple different things. They would collect money for the tournament. So they'd say, okay, entry fee is $5 or 10. I don't think it was 10. I think it was 5. It's $5, which is almost irrelevant. And then they would collect all that money, and then he would go, and the tournament organizer would go to a vendor and say, hey, here's $60 or whatever, or $70 or whatever it was that the amount of people had. And he's like, give me a $40 gift certificate, a 25 and a 10. And they would do it like that. So first, second, and third would win gift certificates that they could use to buy stuff at a vendor. And then it's just like, I don't want to collect money from people. So like when I started doing them, I made a little plaque, which cost me between the frame and the printout, it cost about $4 or something like that to make one. And then you got a little nice memento about whatever. But I don't want to collect from people. I make a terrible tax man, and I'm an anti-tax person as it is. So, And so I don't want to be that person to collect that. It's just easier. And what was happening is the same people would always win all the prizes because they were the ones that were the best players. And sometimes the best players don't need more stuff to buy because we have plenty. So it's like, the other thing they did a couple times was they had a prize pool and they would let whoever came in last pick first. But the problem with that is it's somebody maybe that got beat so bad that they'll never play the game again, and now they have an army that they'll never paint. So it's like I don't know if there's a solution that works 100% of the time, but there'll be some stuff for folks to take home with them and hopefully be encouraged to you know to to paint and play this wonderful game that isn't perfect, but it has brought us thousands of hours of enjoyment. I don't think I've gone into the million hours. I think it's pretty safe to say. But, but I don't want to collect money from people. That's not my personality type. But Jim had a bunch of armies that I think he said were given to him by a friend. I could be wrong. And I've put a lot of them together. And then stopped when I found out that, the pandemic was coming. So I've got them all in one place. We've got lots of stuff to choose from. Most of them are complete DBA 3.0 armies. Some of them you might have to buy a couple of figures to complete it, but we'll have some stuff for you guys to paint. And they're put together with the right troops, with the right figures for them. My dream job right there. Okay, so we've got this guy totally colored, painted in this one color. Okay, so now we're going to bring that up by adding more of this to this brownish and red mix. My dream job that doesn't pay squat. My dad always encouraged me, you can't do history because you can't pay the bills. It was the right move. I don't like to write, so that's probably would have been a bad combination for me. Teach, not too late. I wouldn't want to teach in a place where people don't want to learn, or they're just learning for the sake of getting through the class. I think history is just ruined that way. I took history all my electives in college because I wanted to learn about the stuff from the learning standpoint, not because, I wanted to just pass the class. But I don't like writing papers. Oh, I don't like writing papers. Some people get painter's block. I get writing block. And you know what? That's probably a good choice because one of the things I dislike the most about my current job is I don't like explaining the same thing to people over and over and over again. Like I would be a terrible like lifeguard. No running. No running. Don't do that. like for one day, I'm like, that's it, I'm out. Repetitive shit, you can get somebody else to do repetitive shit. I don't have the personality type for that. Welcome to Walmart. I'd be a terrible Walmart greeter. I have too many teeth. I don't think they even do that anymore. I wouldn't know. I don't go to Walmart anymore. They pissed me off a couple years ago. So they can stick it. Somebody else can go there. But yeah, repetitive stuff, that's not a good job for me. I've always been a fan of a shield, which has the winner's name on it, displayed at the event. And all you are bragging rights because your name is up there. I've seen other people do that. The first event I ran, I went to a trophy shop and had them make a trophy. It wasn't expensive, but I learned right off the bat I'm not doing that again. It is way too complicated and frustrating to get another person involved in the whole mix of making the award. Because then you're like, and this has happened before. I've won. Do I have one of these floating around here? Oh, I bet I do. Maybe I didn't. A long time ago, like the people that would make events for like the winning things at Historicon would even misspell the name of the convention, Historican. Like, what do you do with that then? If somebody else is involved in it, you just can't have them remake it. Do I have one? Or maybe I sucked so bad back then that I didn't win anything. It might be one of those things. Yeah, I have one. That was like in 2006 and stuff. Historican. What, as opposed to Historicant? Yeah, but getting a trophy shop involved, then you're stressed out about going back and picking it up or something misspelled or, yeah, I don't want that. I learned real quick after making one, I'm like, I don't want to do this again. I don't want to do this again. It's not worth it. So I just do my little things I don't charge for and bragging rights, mementos, whatever you want to think of them as. I think of them as mementos. I have them over my painting area here, and somebody was like real cute and said, "Oh, there's your," I forgot what they called it, wall of feeling good about yourself, but they didn't put it that way. And I'm like, really? I didn't never have it that way. It's just cool to remember the places that you went to, but I'm not the best player. I never will be, and that's fine. I paint better than I'll ever play. So what, Ego wall, ego something. I'm like, really? That's kind of a dick thing to say. I mean, yeah, I want to win, but I want to win 50.00001% of the time because I want to be challenged. If you beat somebody and you win like 80% of the time, who can, you need to move to something else. You're not being challenged enough. That's just me, I guess. There's a lot of people that are into gaming though, that you can just tell by the attitude that they have that their life is not what they would like it to be. So everything is riding on their hopes of winning a stupid game that nothing matters on. So, yeah, they got attitude issues. But that's not me. It's just a stupid game you don't win nothing at. You're here to have a good time. So, ego wall, I think is what they call it. I'm like, really? What about the people that win awards at like a bowling tournament or something like that? And you can't give anybody any awards at all anymore? Hey, somebody's got to lose for somebody else to win, you know? Or as I like to say, I kicked your ass, but I couldn't have done it without you because the other guy was rolling too, you know? It's just part of life, man. There's such a thing as sore losers and sore winners. Don't be either one of them. You're gonna have a good time. That's what I'm here for. That and the crack jokes. Working on my stand up, which won't catch on. I'm from a different age. People would find all my stuff offensive. Oh well. I'm here to have a good time. I'm here to laugh, not as often as Mitch, but still have a good time. Now, this guy's also wearing, not sure what the right terminology is. Let's call it a vestment of some kind. I am not going to make that red because otherwise it's just like a sea of red. I may not make it yellow either. I may make it like white. So it stands out. Otherwise, it just ends up being like, just looks like a hot dog with too many condiments on it, you know? Ketchup on a hot dog. There's a way to keep me from eating something. That's one of those things I won't touch. You put ketchup on something, you can go to hell. I ain't eating it. It's the only tomato-ish thing I don't like that I can think of. Something about the sugar and the vinegar and the white vinegar it's in it is just like toxic. Wish I would have known who invented that. Why couldn't you just make cocktail sauce? Cocktail sauce is just fine. Well, I could just stop here and start highlighting with white and have it deviate into a different color, which might actually work okay. And I may just do that. Or add yellow, have that deviate into a different color as well, or just keep going with a red. I think I'm going to deviate it. Well, first of all, if I'm going to do that, let's put more of this color down, okay? Because we're going to need it to be around for a little while. A deviant color. All right, and we're going to need some fresh white. Should put mustard on a hot dog. The problem with mustard, as long as it's good quality, like German mustard, sure. The problem with mustard is it's such a pungent taste that it drowns out anything else. Like you could have a ham sandwich with mustard or a shit sandwich with mustard, and they probably taste the same because the mustard is so powerful, like a yellow mustard. Could you go with the other main color yellow for the surcoat? There's the word. Thank you. I knew it. I just couldn't think of it. Or would that be too high contrast? Maybe not because I'm going to deviate this red. So we'll see. Let's see where we go with this. We're in uncharted territory. Hold on to your pantaloons. This could be something that was red, but left the horse out in the rain and it faded in the sun, and eventually, they're not as bright as they used to be. If I'm gonna eat a hot dog, my preferred thing to put on it is sauerkraut, and that's it, or mustard, and that's it. Not a million different things that you're gonna end up wearing. You know, I would never eat a chili dog. I am really particular about chili. Like if I know who made it, it's fine. But just random, maybe it was that old thing that you hear about Wendy's that found like a finger in the chili. Yeah, I don't, unsupervised chili making. That's kind of weird. Um, if I know who made chili, chili's awesome. I don't know that it needs to be on a hot dog, but again, relish is fine if that's the only thing on it, but not, a million things on it. Because then you can't even taste the hot dog. Not that I eat hot dogs very often, but I knew we were going to get into food eventually. Is it lunchtime yet? Forever hungry. Actually, that reminds me, I need to take my medicine. Which has a nice side effect of not making me as hungry. But that's not why I take it. So I don't turn into a leper. Ugh. Look at the shading we got going so far. Oh, really? But it's not a work day. Why do I gotta bend over? Man, this is so yellow. I don't know why this screen is so darn yellow. I don't know that that's happened before. Let me see if there's a setting on here. Nope, not there. I'm not sure why this is coming out so yellow. Oh well. There, it's not as yellow here. Huh. Very yellow there, not as yellow here. Yeah, I could probably do that. Something similar with a wash, but low battery? Nope, it's plugged in. It's at 86%. I don't know. This light is great to paint with, but it does weird things with taking photographs and stuff. I've been really unhappy with how my photograph ability or lack thereof has been lately. I don't take good photographs. I try to take a picture of something that I've done 8 times and I pick the best one out of it. I've watched videos on what I need to do. I'm just no good at it. So I'll let my wife do them from now on. She takes better pictures of it. Maybe my phone's good for videoing, but not for, I don't know. The phone's only a year old, so. Oh well. I always got to screw with stuff. No, I always film plugged in, always. And we've been on here, what, 3.5 hours? So, can I get this guy done? I don't know. We'll see. I think I can get this cloth done, and that's about it. We're going to have to call it till tomorrow anyways. See, this is starting to go, oh, you can't see. This is starting to go a little pink here. That's okay. We just use smaller quantities of it to do the highlighting in certain places. This has got a little flyaway, but it was almost like it was some of the paint. And we'll be back on tomorrow morning. And then Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday evening for sure. And probably Saturday morning. No Friday evening. We're going to try to do some gaming on Friday, next Friday. That's at least what the plan is. Apt to change at any moment, unfortunately. As I like to say, if plans change, it wasn't my choice. I like things you can count on, not things you can't count on. There's enough of those in the world. Yeah, it's my stomach. Yeah. This is the fifth night of 6. Okay. This is where we're going to leave off. And we'll catch you guys tomorrow morning. Same bat time, same bat channel. And happy painting. Enjoy the rest of your Saturday. Bye-bye, folks.